Hello and welcome, Facebook and the whole world, to our first premiere, Heal Your Life. Yes, I borrowed that from the famous Louise Hay, Autoimmune Health Talk with Denise Otten and celebrity doctors. This program is not going to be like every podcast that you've ever heard. We want to bring you great doctors and holistic practitioners that are going to tell you how they heal their clients and give you some protocols to work with, because there's a lot of people out there that don't realize that they can actually heal their body with diet and vitamins. Food does matter. And as many of you know, I'm Denise Otten, and I healed my daughter of a deadly disease, autoimmune hepatitis, with diet and vitamins when the doctors failed with their 5 years of drug therapy protocol. It was devastating to us. And then I finally said, hold off, let's wait a second, let me go find something else. Now, 2003, there was virtually no internet. 2007, there weren't any podcasts like this. You need to listen to these podcasts. So we're going to be on every Tuesday at 7 o'clock. And tonight, we're going to start with one of my favorite doctors in the whole world. And he was responsible. His protocol helped heal my daughter of autoimmune hepatitis, and he heals people of all over the United States and all over the world of autoimmune diseases with his protocol. Dr. Burt Berkson is going to join us in a few minutes, and he's going to talk to you about the science of alpha-lipoic and of low-dose naltrexone. We did not use low-dose naltrexone for Courtney, but he uses it for many of his patients. He will talk to you about the science of alpha-lipoic and of low-dose naltrexone, and of how food matters. I personally like the paleo diet. We will talk a little bit about that. But as you know, everybody's body is different. Some people would prefer to be vegetarians. That's fine if you get the right amount of vitamins and protein. So without further ado, we're going to listen for him. But I do want to just remind people, this is not medical advice or instruction. Everyone should seek the advice of their physician or healthcare practitioners. But if you'd rather find a holistic doctor in your vicinity, or you want to talk to me as your holistic health counselor, I'll help you find a doctor, or you could work with me. Yes, I have become a holistic health counselor because after I wrote my book, lots of people from all over the world asked me to help them reverse their autoimmune hepatitis. So I became a holistic health counselor, and I'm helping people all over the world reverse their disease. So we have a very special guest. Did Dr. Bergson call in yet? Oh, he hasn't called in yet. Well, what I wanted to, if we could just go over something for a minute. Dr. Burt Berkson is a PhD and an MD. He is not just a traditional doctor. He was a scientist before he was a PhD. And in doing so, he is now a doctor who thinks outside the box. And he is arguably the father of alpha-lipoic. He was the director of research for the FDA for alpha-lipoic for about 15 years and responsible, arguably, for bringing the research to America. He has over 40 professional publications and several books. My favorite is The Alpha-Lipoic Breakthrough. I have to recommend that everybody take a look at that, peruse that. He will teach us about the science of alpha-lipoic, how it improves your immune system, and as he always says, it is the rate limiting factor for the production of energy from our food. Without it, we'd all be dead. So we all need a certain amount of alpha-lipoic to live. His protocol has been known to heal and reverse lupus, autoimmune hepatitis, diabetes 2. Personally, I'm working with someone whose child is 10 years old, diabetes 1, and she is using alpha-lipoic instead of insulin. She's thrilled, as you can imagine. MS, regenerates cells after strokes and heart attacks, SJOGRENS, and so many more diseases. Please help me welcome Dr. Burt Berkson. Yay! Dr. Bergson, are you there? How are you?
I'm right here. How are you?
I am so wonderful. I'm so happy that you finally came to us again, and you have the full hour, so I want to hear everything you have to say and give everybody an earful because you have so much to share.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
You're welcome. Before you start, the show is going to be splashed all over the internet, and it's my commitment to spread his word and help more lives. So, guys, if you're out there listening, we are going to save lives. Please press the share button so that we can save a life. If everybody out there just presses the button and one life is shared, it's a butterfly effect. So with that, Dr. Bergson, please, and if you have questions, call into 877-480-4120. I'd like you to introduce yourself to the audience so that they know how long you've been practicing and what kind of diseases that many of your patients have when they walk in the door. Dr. Bergson?
Yes. I've been practicing over 40 years now. I was originally a professor of microbiology,
right.
Taught graduate students, medical students, all about germs and infectious diseases. And my PhD is actually in the cell biology of fungi. Uh-huh. And I was a professor for many years, and I never thought I'd actually practice medicine. I didn't have the hospital years, but I picked those up, and I ended up at the university in Cleveland, and I worked at the Cleveland Clinic too.
Okay. And I remember the first time, I'd really like you to tell the story of the first time you experienced alpha lipoic, and you used it on patients that had liver disease and they were dying. If you could, please tell the audience.
Yes, I was an internal medicine resident, and one day the chief came up to me and told me that he was sort of upset with me because I didn't have any deaths on my service.
Deaths?
He said
as
almost everybody
watch?
had 10, 15, 20 deaths on their service, and I didn't have one. And I told him that I try to keep people alive. And he said, well, we're going to give you two people who will surely die. They have end-stage liver disease. It's called acute hepatic necrosis. And nothing could save them except a liver transplant, and we don't have that available now. They'll be dead in 2 weeks. Watch them die, take notes, present it to grand medical rounds in 2 weeks when they die. So as a good medical doctor, I should have gone upstairs, watched them die, take notes. But as a person with a master's degree and a PhD, which is 8 years of education above a medical doctor, I thought of myself as a scientist, as a professor. You're always looking for new things. So I called the National Institutes of Health and spoke to the head man over there, the chief, Dr. Fred Barter.
Right.
And I asked him if there's anything in the world he knew that would regrow a liver. And he said he was studying alpha lipoic acid as the wonder drug, the wonder prescription drug for the reversal of diabetes and diabetic complications.
And approximately what year was this?
This was 1977.
Okay.
And he said that when they gave it to people with diabetes, it seemed to stimulate stem cells, and they seemed to regrow their organs. So he sent me 2 cases. I picked them up at the airport, ran back to the hospital, injected into the 2 people. And within 2 weeks, they regenerated their livers completely. They're still alive in their 80s with normal liver function.
Wow.
So Dr. Barter was very impressed, and he came out to Cleveland with a team of doctors from the National Institutes of Health to examine the patients and set up a conference, a national conference on organ regeneration, asked me to be the lead speaker. The chiefs were really angry. They said, you know, you used a drug that wasn't on our formulary, and we also told the families that these people would be dead in 2 weeks. You made us look like fools.
That's terrible.
Are you more loyal to your patients or your fellow doctors? Well, you know, they probably would have fired me on that day if Dr. Barter and a team from National Institutes of Health didn't take me under their wing.
Right.
And we actually gave this alpha lipoic acid intravenously to 79 people all across the country that had end-stage liver disease and could not have liver transplants.
And this was your this was in 1979?
Well, we published the paper in 1980.
Okay.
We gave it to 79 people, acute hepatic necrosis, almost sure death for all of them. 75 out of 79 regenerated their livers within a month.
Wow. Wow.
And Dr. Barter and I were invited to Germany to be visiting scientists at the Max Planck Institute. It was a big drug over there. I was appointed the Food and Drug Administration chief investigator for alpha-lipoic acid as a prescription drug. When I got back to Cleveland, they were not very happy with me.
Now I have to ask you something, because I told this story to a resident,
Yes.
a guy who's a resident doing his residency now, and he said, well, why would he go against the rules of the hospital? He could lose his license. I mean, besides, he could kill the people. And I said, but they were dying anyway. So I want to hear what your reason was. Like, why would you go against the doctors in the hospital? Personally, I know you, so I know you're a badass, but people don't know that. But
you know,
why would you do it back then?
I grew up very differently than most medical doctors. I grew up, my father had a big saloon in Chicago,
right,
the nightclub area. I grew up on the streets of Chicago. I was a tough kid.
That's why.
And, you know, I wasn't afraid of anybody. I grew up always questioning authority, always wanting to know the true answer to things. And actually, I never thought I'd practice medicine. I thought I'd do a couple of years of residency and go back to a professorship.
Ah, so you had
I'd been a tenured professor. I had my whole life set out before me. I was a professor at Rutgers University, at the State University of Illinois. But when I found lipoic acid, I decided, I mean, it just drew me into regular medicine. I really didn't care what other doctors thought of me, because I knew I'd always go back to being a professor.
Right, right. Okay, I want you to, we have to go to a break in about a minute, but I'd like you to come back and tell us a little bit more about the science of alpha-lipoic, because it's very convoluted if you don't know a thing about it, and you don't have your PowerPoint presentation, but please explain to us when you come back the science of alpha-lipoic and how you created this protocol that you use in your practice on a daily basis, and I used for my daughter to heal her, and how you're healing people every day, 24/7. Thanks. We'll be right back with Dr. Burt Berkson, and stay tuned because you want to hear what he has to say. This man is just amazing.
You're listening to the Talking Alternative Network.
You're listening to the Talking Alternative Network. Are you stuck in a rut? Negative thoughts, feelings, and conversations got you down? Hi, I'm Noreen Sumter, the Potentiator. Tune in every Tuesday at 9 to 10 p.m. Eastern Time and listen for new ideas on my show, Beyond Potential, Live Life Your Way, on talkradio.nyc.
Who do you want to connect with?
Are you an entrepreneur or intrapreneur looking to build your following?
Welcome to our show.
Follow Me Friday with Joan
and Priya.
Tune in every Friday at noon Eastern
on talkradio.nyc.
We're your digital connectors. Woo woo!
Talking Alternative Radio, 24 hours a day.
Hello and welcome back to Alternative Health Talk. I want to give a shout out to some of the people on Facebook Live that are listening. Hi, Maya, and hi, Lori Gates Addison, Lulu, all the way in Uruguay. Hello to Randy, Bar Cooper, and some of the people I can't see. Cynthia, of course, in Connecticut, always with me. Love you. I wanted to also bring back Dr. Bergson so he can explain to you how alpha-lipoic works. Please, Dr.
I'd be
Bergson.
glad to.
Thank you.
You know, the reason we're alive is because alpha-lipoic acid is in every cell of our body. Lipoic acid, very simply speaking, is what converts our food into energy. Food is first broken down into something called pyruvate. Pyruvate can't enter the energy factory of the cell, the mitochondrion. It has to be converted to something called acetyl-CoA. Lipoic acid is what converts this into energy and gets that food into the mitochondrion, the energy factory, to produce energy. So little kids, healthy little kids, have tremendous amounts of lipoic acid in every cell of their body. And that's one of the reasons they're so healthy. All of their mitochondria, their energy factories are going full force. You feed them a Thanksgiving dinner, they'll be climbing the walls afterwards.
Yes.
An 80-year-old man has very tired mitochondria, and he's producing very little energy from his cells.
Okay.
He doesn't have that much lipoic acid in each of his cells. So you feed him a Thanksgiving meal, he's going to be sleeping on the couch.
Okay.
Unless you give him lipoic acid, he'll be walking around the house afterwards.
Did you hear that, Dad? If Dad is listening, I'm going to give him alpha-lipoic after Thanksgiving dinner.
Exactly. So, and it does many other things too. It's something that we all produce, and it keeps us alive. It changes our food into energy.
Okay.
Some of the other things it does, it's one of the best free radical scavengers known. In other words, when it comes in contact with poisons in our body, it neutralizes them and gets them out of our body. It's been shown by research to be a modifier of gene expression.
What does that mean?
Well, deleterious, harmful genes are often turned off when lipoic acid is available. In parts of Russia, there are publications that show that it reverses something called ischemia reperfusion injury. In other words,
I know that. Go ahead.
When somebody has a heart attack, if they give them alpha-lipoic acid intravenously while they're on the examining table, they can reverse the free radical poisons that are produced that cause the damage to the heart, and the person could go home right afterwards.
And one thing that I learned from you, we had a dear friend of the family have a stroke. He was very young. He's alive, but he had a stroke, shocked us all. I emailed you and you said, full workup and check out alpha-lipoic reverses and repairs brain after strokes. And I did, and I found the research immediately. It's all on PubMed.gov. So
there have been hundreds of papers on this. So
if people have a stroke, their doctors should know to give them alpha-lipoic soon thereafter.
I remember when I started medical school in Chicago right out of college, I used to ask questions. And the professors would always just look at me and say, be quiet. And then one day I was taken aside and I was told, this is a club you're getting into. This is a guild. We give you information, you memorize it, you give it back to us just the way we give it to you, and then you're an MD. We don't want to hear anything new. We marry a certain protocol, and that's what we do.
Okay.
If somebody has a new idea, we discourage them. We give them a very hard time. Maybe if they're stubborn enough to stick with it for 50 years, it'll catch on and become accepted.
I have to tell you, I think that that's the reason why these doctors and these major, I told you the hospital that we went to. We went to a major hospital in a major city in the United States for my daughter, and they just didn't want to hear anything else. I said, is there any vitamin, anything that's alternative that you can give us except for Cellcept? Because it's a chemo drug. I don't want to give that to my 12-year-old child. And he said, no, I don't believe in vitamins. I said, okay, well, then I do. He said, what are you, a lawyer? I went, no, I'm a financial analyst. I just want to analyze everything. So the doctors don't want to think.
You know, doctors are people who have been trained, not educated. And many doctors, I mean, not all of them, but many doctors are music majors and history majors. And many of them never had a background in biology.
Right,
so how would they know these things?
Well, a lot of them, thank God, are coming over to our side and are starting to open up and learn about the different alternatives that are out there. So again, can you please just go on to explain to people how alpha-lipoic actually helps people who have lupus, autoimmune hepatitis, diabetes. And by the way, I didn't tell you, so I'm telling you now and in front of the world. I am helping a little boy, a mother with a little 10-year-old boy who has diabetes 1, and it is her choice. She's very smart. She's an incredibly brilliant woman, and she is using she used a very special diet, very strict diet, and she still had a little trouble without insulin getting his numbers down. And just by using alpha-lipoic orally, she figured out that he needed a little bit more in the morning and then a little bit at night to regulate his sugar all day long. And she has a monitor. She has Dexcom implanted in him, so she monitors his blood sugar all throughout the day on her cell phone.
Well, you know, like I said, many years ago, lipoic acid was an investigational prescription drug for the reversal of diabetes and diabetic neuropathies.
Right.
And several years ago, I received a call from one of the major, from a chief of medicine at one of the major medical centers in America.
We won't tell you who.
And I won't tell you the name of the place. And he asked me if I was still the principal investigator for the Food and Drug Administration for lipoic acid as a prescription drug.
Right.
I said, yes, I am. He said, well, he had about 1,200 people who had diabetes and diabetic neuropathies. They had no feeling in their toes.
Right.
They were candidates in many cases to have their toes amputated. He said, do you think your lipoic acid would help them? And I said, I'm pretty sure it would, but I'm not certain, but I think it would. So I sent him about 50 cases at this big medical center and never heard from him again.
Right.
Then a few years later, I read this article in one of the diabetes magazines that they had taken 1,200 people who were possible candidates for amputation with diabetic neuropathies, gave them intravenous lipoic acid for 3 weeks, and within 3 weeks they grew new blood vessels, new nerves in the toes, did not require amputation.
3 weeks?
Incidentally, we do this every day at our clinic.
Okay. Now, tell
And
people.
you know, I thought, well, finally become a prescription drug.
Right.
So they stopped doing it.
Why?
So I called a drug company and I told them, you know, I introduced myself. I spoke to the vice president. I said, you know, I'm the FDA principal investigator for this. Why did they stop doing it? And he says, you know, Dr. Bergson, you know, off the record, let me tell you something. This big place they have tens of thousands of employees. They have various hospitals. I mean, this is a very expensive place to operate. If they regrow the toes on a patient, they lose the patient. If they cut the toes off, they make a lot of money and they come back next year with a foot amputated, then a lower leg, then an upper leg, then the other limb. Your drug's bad for their business. That's why they stopped doing it.
Oh my God. So
I says, you know, they had such great results. Are you going to put this on the market as a prescription drug? He says, I hope you don't feel bad about this, but your drug will never get on the market. I said, why not? He said, we want one drug for one indication. lipoic acid does too many things. It's a simple molecule that we all produce in our body, and it keeps us young and keeps us healthy.
Yeah.
And for example, if we give it for diabetic neuropathies, it also very effectively lowers blood sugar, so we lose money on our insulin.
Yep.
It dissolves calcium from the blood vessels, so we lose money on our heart drugs and our drugs for strokes. It changes cancer metabolism from anaerobic or abnormal metabolism into normal metabolism, aerobic metabolism. Cancer cells die from this. We lose money on our chemotherapy. It regrows the liver and lungs. We lose money on those drugs.
Yeah.
Your drug is terrible. It'll never get on the market.
It's too good. It's too good.
Too good.
So okay, now you just answered a whole bunch of questions about the stroke, the heart attack, the liver. It regenerates the liver. I always tell people this again and again because they come to me and they're very worried because the doctors say, you must take these drugs or you'll die and have a liver transplant. And the only thing that I can say is, listen, read the book, Alpha Lipoic Breakthrough. Alpha Lipoic regenerates the liver. So if you have a cirrhosis liver, it turns it around and it makes it nice and pink again. And I say it 3 times because people, and inevitably they always come back to me and say, the doctor said I have to take it or I'm going to have a liver transplant. It reverses it. But we have to come back, and I want you to talk about lupus. You already talked about diabetes, and some of the other really great diseases that you've helped people reverse. Because you have some amazing stories that I can't keep up with you. You just did another report. You wrote another research report that you've helped people with renal failure with cancer, stage 4 kidney cancer.
Yes.
And that report we have to talk about too.
Well,
lupus is important.
Like I say, I'm a different kind of a doctor. I do what I think is correct.
Yeah.
And I probably use my biology background, my PhD, as much as I use my MD.
That's why.
And I use whatever works. If I feel a prescription drug works, I'll use it.
Right.
If it is not effective, I'll use something else.
Yeah.
I'll use something that maybe a lot of people don't know about.
Right. And also we're gonna also
for example,
talk about. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Every day, in addition to the lipoic acid, I put people on low dose naltrexone.
Right. We have to talk about that.
Yeah.
So when we come back, wait, hold your thought. We're going to talk about low dose naltrexone when we come back, but I want you to talk about how alpha lipoic, the different ailments you've been able to reverse, because you haven't addressed lupus or multiple sclerosis, or we addressed the liver diseases and anything that's thyroid. Have you ever been successful with thyroidism? With
thyroid disease?
Well, there's so many, yeah.
With autoimmune thyroiditis, yes.
Okay, so we want to talk about that too. In about a little while, about 30 seconds, we'll be off, but I want to talk to you guys about that not only has Dr. Bergson had the different books are, all the, I'm sorry, I'm losing my train of thought. The Alpha Lipoic Breakthrough, you have a vitamin B book. So it talks about the vitamin Bs, and Honest Medicine is one of the best books. And I have to say hello and a shout out to Julia Shopik. She wrote the book with you, or she wrote the book and then you have a chapter in the book. And that's all about healing with Alpha Lipoic and low dose naltrexone. And these are really great books you should get for.
Also Syndrome X.
Syndrome X, I haven't read yet. I have to read it.
Yeah, that's the first book on the reversal of metabolic syndrome.
Okay. I have to read it. I'm sorry I can't speak about it now because I haven't read it. Sorry. And of course, my book, Curing Courtney. And we are going to be back in about 2 minutes. And Dr. Bergson's going to talk about low-dose naltrexone and, of course, other diseases that he's been able to reverse successfully. So stay tuned. Thanks, Dr. Bergson. Hang on there. Don't go away.
I won't.
Okay.
You're listening to the Talking Alternative Network.
Are you into comics, movies, and pop culture at large? What about music and TV? Then you're in for a treat. This is Michael Dolce, your host on TalkingAlternative.com. I've been professionally writing comic books, screenplays, and music articles for almost 15 years. Catch my show, Secrets of the Sire, at its new primetime slot, Wednesdays, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, and get the inside scoop on the pop culture universe you love to talk about. For more info, go to secretsofthesire.com.
Are you feeling unhappy with your body, shape, or size? Ever feel out of control with food? I'm Elizabeth Tripp, your host of Nourish the Soul. Join me to uncover the root to these imbalances and discover a permanent solution to living a healthy life. Join us every Wednesday at my new time, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on talkradio.nyc.
Talking Alternative Radio, 24 hours a day.
Welcome back to Alternative Health Talk. Excuse me. Just drank my green juice. Hope you guys are drinking your green juice and doing the paleo diet or a vegetarian diet. You really got to go organic. This is no kidding. We've got to change the world and do it right. This is not your mother's country anymore, and our soil, air, and earth and water are not clean anymore. So please try and go organic. No wheat, no dairy, and no kidding. So Dr. Bergson, we had a couple of questions from people in the audience. Please speak to, tell them which brands of alpha lipoic are very important. You can't just go and buy any alpha lipoic. It's really important. I'm going to give a shout out to 2 companies, and I'll let you do it. And can you speak to us of multiple sclerosis as well as lupus?
Yes. Well, the brand that I'm using now that I took today was from Biotech.
Pharmacal.
Yeah, and they're in Fayetteville, Arkansas, but they use the prescription product from Europe. Many of the other companies use the Chinese products, and we once had one of them analyzed, and it was 40% unknown substances.
Yeah, they're very dangerous. I really must emphasize the 2 companies that Dr. Bergson has endorsed before are Biotech Pharmacal or Metabolic Maintenance. You can find them on curingcourtney.com, my website. I can't endorse Amazon's because I don't know if it's going to be safe, because you don't know if the people are opening them up and putting them back. You don't know if they're coming from a reputable source. So either get it from the website or my website or Dr. Bergson. But also, it's important, if you would, Dr. Bergson, why should people get it from Europe?
Well, in Europe, it's a prescription drug. Doctor writes a prescription for it. Somebody goes to a pharmacy, they pick it up there. It's in most of the hospitals for the reversal of diabetic neuropathies.
Okay.
It's used especially in Germany and Italy. It's a very popular drug.
Didn't you once say that it was patented? Like the Germans own the patent?
Yes, they do. It's Ostamedica. They're part of the Degussa Corporation, which is a gigantic chemical company in Germany.
Okay, so when you're getting it from China, and of course it doesn't say from China, you have to call the company and you have to say, what is the source? What is the country of origin that you're getting your alpha lipoic from? And they say, oh, it's coming from China, but it's very safe because FDA approved. And who amongst us believes the government and FDA approvals? I mean, you just can't trust them anymore, unfortunately.
No.
The other thing,
there might be some Chinese companies that are creating a decent product, but I'm not sure of which ones they are.
Right, and you don't know who to trust. So,
no, but I trust the prescription product from Germany.
Me too. The other thing that I want you to speak to is multiple sclerosis and lupus, if you would, please?
Well, several years ago, I got so fed up with university work, I became a country doctor not far from Lubbock, Texas.
Yes.
Delivered babies on ranches. My kids thought they were cowboys and cowgirls. And when they were high school age, our job opened up with the Department of Defense, and their hospitals are located in the Las Cruces and El Paso area, and I took that job. And then about 22 years ago, I opened a small office in Las Cruces, and I thought I'll do what I think is right and not argue with people anymore and just do the right thing. And a man walked into my office with a walker. He could hardly even move. He said that he had prostate cancer in his bones, rheumatoid arthritis, and systemic lupus.
Poor baby.
And he said that the MD Anderson Hospital in Texas told him he only had a few weeks to live. Would I give him pain pills so he could handle the pain? And I got his wife admitted to a nursing home before he died, and I prescribed the pain pills for him. Then he asked me if I ever heard of Dr. Beharry in New York. I said, no. I said, why? He said, well, Dr. Beharry, he heard was reversing cancer and rheumatoid and disease and autoimmune disease like lupus, autoimmune hepatitis, all of these things.
Right.
So I said, well, why don't you go up there and see him? He said, well, he's just in a little office. Who's any good when he'd be at a big institution? I said, John, if he was at a big institution and he could cure cancer, he'd put him out of business. People would get better. They treat cancer. They don't cure too many cancers.
Yeah.
And I told him how when I was in Cleveland, they told me I couldn't talk about liver regeneration anymore because they were in the liver transplant business. So he went up and saw Dr. Beharry. I thought he died. 3 years later, he walks in with a sinus infection without his walker. He said, Dr. Beharry stopped the growth of the cancer and reversed it and cured the rheumatoid arthritis and lupus with a drug that at that time cost $15 a month, low-dose naltrexone.
Okay. Now, when you say low-dose naltrexone, you mean how low? Because sometimes they say 50
the normal
milligrams.
prescription is 50 milligrams, and it's a drug at 50 milligrams that reverses the complications of heroin addiction.
Correct.
And at very low doses, it does something else.
Okay, how low?
The 3 milligrams to 4.5 milligrams.
Okay.
You take it at bedtime, and it fools the brain into thinking there are not enough endorphins and opiates, natural opiates in the body.
Mm-hmm.
So in the morning, you get a flood of these things. One of them is called medenkephalin. Mm-hmm. Medenkephalin binds to cancer cells and kills them.
Okay.
Medenkephalin is a investigational drug in the Middle East, I think in Israel, and it's a very expensive investigational drug. But if you take the inexpensive low-dose naltrexone at bedtime, you make your own medenkephalin in the morning in your nervous system.
Perfect.
Also, these opiates also seem to downregulate the inflammatory markers, and that reverses autoimmune disease.
Now, you're talking about something, when you say heroin users, my body goes, ooh. So I know other people out there are going, why would you take that kind of drug? So I want to ask you how safe it is, or how safe do you think it is, or how safe do you think in your research you've seen it?
Well, these things, all of these things don't cure everybody, but they sure help a lot of people.
Right.
I know lipoic acid. We just wrote a paper that was published on how much lipoic acid would take to kill a person.
Okay.
And it's something like 100 milligrams per kilogram, which is a tremendously high dose.
What does that?
The kind of dose that would kill a person with giving them water.
Okay.
And then the low dose naltrexone is very, very safe.
Okay.
I take it myself. Everybody in my family takes it to prevent diseases.
Now, we also had a question about, I know that you can't answer this like specifically because every person is different and every issue that they have is different and everyone's absorption is different. But what would you start a person on, or a maintenance dose of alpha lipoic? They were asking about what dosage of alpha lipoic.
Well, myself, you know, I'm an old timer now, but I feel like a young guy.
Right.
And I take, I probably myself, I take 300 milligrams twice a day,
Yes.
and I take B-complex vitamins, B-complex vitamin capsule with each lipoic capsule.
Great.
And the reason is when lipoic acid converts your food into energy, it depletes the B vitamins, so you have to replace them.
Okay. So 600 milligrams a day for an average Joe. And I, too, take 600 a day, and my B complex with it. And my husband, and we're 57, 64. So if that helps you, give you a range. But what would you say would be the age that people start to deplete their alpha lipoic, or they don't produce it as much?
I'd say probably in the mid-40s.
Okay. So I hope that helps the person out there who's not sick and they just want to maintain a good, healthy lifestyle. And don't forget, I'm gonna just, always say this, because I'm a mother of 3, and I always go, no wheat, no dairy, no wheat, no dairy. And when the boys start picking up beers, I go, please, why do you have to do the wheat? But it really is an inflammatory food. So I want to just recommend that you start reading about paleo. This is something that, everybody can read about paleo diets everywhere, or anything that floats your boat. If you want to do vegetarian, that's fine, but you really have to clean up your diet in today's society. And so the rest of, we only have a minute left for this segment, and we're going to have another segment, but I wanted to address very quickly, the MS and the lupus. Have you worked with them? And what did you do?
Yeah, sure. Well, MS is like any other autoimmune disease. The body attacks itself. And, low-dose naltrexone helps many people with MS. Some people it doesn't, but the majority of people get better with low-dose naltrexone, from my experience.
Okay.
And, there's a tremendous movement now among certain doctors and patients promoting low-dose naltrexone.
Really?
You can find all about it on the internet.
Okay. And again, just to reiterate, he uses low-dose naltrexone with the alpha lipoic, so that you know that it's a combination of protocols. It's not just one thing heals all. I want people to understand that it's not just take one pill and feel great. You have to change your life. You have to adhere to a better diet. And you really have to decide what is best for you. Do you like vegetarianism? Can you be a pescatarian? Can you do some kind of a paleo diet, or a modified paleo diet where you have absolutely no grains except for sometimes? And no wheat means no wheat, barley, buckwheat, oats. By the way, we have 30 seconds left, but I wanted to tell you that I have some clients that are doing great on your protocol, Dr. Bergson, but when they eat oatmeal, that spikes their AST and ALT. Oatmeal every day. When they take it out, they drop to normal. Isn't that
Wonderful.
Fascinating? I just wanted to let you know, so that you and the rest of the world, so that you know that just because Arnold Schwarzenegger and all the bodybuilders say, oh, oatmeal's great for me. No, maybe it's not good for you, and you just don't know it. So test it. Okay, now we're going to be back in about 1.5 minutes, and we're going to speak to Dr. Bergson more. So please stay tuned. And if you have questions, type them on the internet, and we'll get them out to Dr. Bergson right away. Stay tuned. Don't go away, Dr. Bergson.
I won't.
Thanks.
You're listening to the Talking Alternative Network.
Are you a conscious co-creator? Are you on a quest to raise your vibration and your consciousness? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant. And on my show, The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, we will touch upon all these topics and more. Listen live at our new time on Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. That's The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, Thursdays, 12 noon on talkradio.nyc.
Are you feeling unhappy with your body, shape, or size? Ever feel out of control with food? I'm Elizabeth Tripp, your host of Nourish the Soul. Join me to uncover the root to these imbalances and discover a permanent solution to living a healthy life. Join us every Wednesday at my new time, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on talkradio.nyc.
TalkingAlternative.com.
Hello and welcome back to Alternative Health Talk. Hello, Dr. Bergson. We have some questions for you.
Very good.
Okay, we're going to go talk about low-dose naltrexone. I got to tell you, I'm not a prescription person. I don't do that at all unless I'm, like dying, and then I have to, and that's the way it is. But low-dose naltrexone, some of my clients have given it to their children, and the kids get better. And the numbers come down to normal, so I don't poo-poo it anymore. I want to know more about it, so I want to let everybody know. They're asking all these questions about where to get it. It is a prescription. You need to get it from your doctor. However, Dr. Bergson will tell you where you might be able to access doctors who are interested. I think Julia Shopik is a consultant for LDN, correct?
Yes, she is. She's quite a lady.
And also, and we'll talk about her in a second. Also, somebody asked, can you give us a list of vitamins to heal? Okay, so everybody is so different. And yes, there's a certain vitamin protocol that everybody should have, and then there's a certain vitamin protocol that Dr. Bergson uses. But it's not just these 4 vitamins that are going to help you. You really need to work with somebody who's a holistic practitioner. So yes, I am a holistic health coach, and I do take clients, and I help them, and they're on the Facebook page live now, popping up saying thanks and hi, Denise. So I have helped people reverse their autoimmune hepatitis and their rheumatoid arthritis and their diabetes and their high blood pressure with vitamins and diet. And when they're acutely sick, I don't play games. I send them straight to Dr. Bergson or one of his colleagues. It's very important to get straight to a person who knows what they're doing when you're really sick, somebody who's going to give you an IV treatment. So, in short, the triple antioxidant protocol that Dr. Bergson uses is alpha-lipoic, selenium, and silymarin. That's for many different people. And of course, you always have to take B-complex with your alpha-lipoic. I'm going to say it again. You always have to take B-complex with your alpha-lipoic. Now, that doesn't mean go out and get anything. You have to get it at high quality. You have to get the brands we recommended. And you really should work with a holistic practitioner or a functional medicine doctor. I'm going to ask Dr. Bergson to now talk a little bit more about low-dose naltrexone. I know you can't speak about giving it to children because you're not board-certified pediatric. However, you can give people an idea of what they should do if they want to work with their doctor, their existing doctor, and they want to get it. Or how can they get it?
Well, I think if somebody wants to really learn about low-dose naltrexone, they could find tremendous amounts of information on the internet just by going to Google and typing low-dose naltrexone in. Okay. Many websites, many lists of doctors who prescribe it, and it's very easy to find out about it. There's a compounding pharmacy in Boca Raton, Florida, called Skips, and if you call them up, he'll know the doctors in your area that are prescribing it.
Great.
I say there are probably thousands of doctors in the United States prescribing low-dose naltrexone. Incidentally, Denise, I'm all for prescription drugs, and I use them all the time.
I know.
If I feel somebody needs them.
Yes, I know.
But I don't put people on prescription drugs just because somebody tells me to do it. But some people really need to be on prescription drugs.
Oh, for sure. And at our Autoimmune Symposium, and I want to first just go on a tangent for a second. Dr. Bergson was at our 2018 Autoimmune Symposium in New Jersey. We're going to have another one, 2019, and it's going to be an Autoimmune Symposium in New Jersey, and he is going to be a keynote speaker again, so do stay tuned for that. But one of the things he did do, both of us saw this woman, she came to us, she came to the symposium to learn about it, to meet the doctor and find out, is this real? Can you really help me? And she had yellow eyes, and both of us, I have glasses, I took them off. I said, honey, even with my glasses off, I could see your yellow jaundice. Are you okay? And she said, no. And Dr. Berkson said, we'll take care of you, but maybe you need a little bit of medication. It's not a bad thing to take. So Dr. Berkson really does use medicine when needed. He's no slouch. This guy's the real deal. And if you try to get him on your radio show, you probably can't. He's very, very busy. And I feel incredibly lucky to have him on our radio show. And I again, very grateful. But this doctor, and I'm being very honest, is the real deal. He knows how to heal people. And if he can't, he's going to tell you straight out, I don't think that it's going to work. So you want a doctor to be honest with you. You want a doctor to care about you. And that's why I recommend you.
Oh, thank you.
Welcome.
I appreciate it.
And you've saved a lot of lives.
Yeah, well, lately I've been publishing case reports on people with stage 4 cancers that we've been able to reverse.
Please talk.
I'd say, we've had several people. It doesn't always work, but we often give people many more years. Our first patient came in with metastatic pancreatic cancer, metastases to his liver.
Right.
He received a death sentence from the big medical center in Texas. And after we started him on our therapy, which is low-dose naltrexone, intravenous alpha-lipoic acid, twice a week, and a few other things, within 2 months he went back to work. 9 years later, the PET scan showed no cancer. And we have several people that I published on with the same results. If you go to the National Library of Medicine website and you type my name in, Bergson BM stands for Beautiful Mind, not something else. And you'll see some of my papers. If you go to Google Scholar and you type my name in like that, you'll see many of my papers in medicine and in theoretical biology. For example, I was the first person to show how the nucleus moves about a cell in microorganisms, in nucleated microorganisms.
Okay. So the last thing I want to talk, we have 2 minutes left on the entire show. So get out what you want to, but I also want to ask you if you could just say a quick thing about your latest research report. You could just go on PubMed.gov, type in Dr. Burt Berkson. The kidney disease that you help is long-term kidney disease. You reversed it.
Sometimes we can, sometimes we can't. I don't know. There was a judge from Chicago who came down to see us who was on dialysis. Mm-hmm. And he was an old friend of mine. We grew up together in Chicago. Mm-hmm. And he had a creatinine level of about 16, which is really terrible. It should be less than 1.4. Oh. And he received our treatment for 3 weeks. Yeah. And its creatinine went down to 3.
Wow.
But the big institution he was going with told him not to continue with what we were doing.
Yeah.
they actually told him that if they kill his kidneys, he'd receive a kidney transplant much more quickly.
Oh my God.
And he went along with, I told him not to do that, but he did it anyway. And then they finally found a kidney for him, and it didn't work, and he died.
I'm sorry. Well,
which is very sad. He was a good friend.
I want to leave on a high note. The high note is I am so honored to have you come on our show. I even have my family very impressed that you would grace us with your presence and your knowledge. I really want people to read about Dr. Bergson, buy his books, watch the YouTubes that he has. We're going to put this on YouTube, so you'll be able to see it again. And also, I want you to always think outside the box. Don't just believe what the doctors say. Okay, if you have a diagnosis, that's not a death sentence. You just have to look for alternatives. Yes, I will probably suggest going to Dr. Bergson unless we could find somebody who's in your local area. But I wanted to thank Dr. Bergson for all his work from the 1970s till today. Keep on doing the good stuff. And if anybody wants to talk to him further, just write to me on Denise at curingcourtney.com, and I'll forward on the information to him. Or you can contact his office in Las Cruces, New Mexico. But Dr. Bergson, thank you so much for healing all the people that I've sent to you over the years, and keep researching. Did you have anything to say to anybody?
Have fun.
Okay. Thanks, love. Have a great time, and stay tuned.
Thank you, honey.
Next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Next week, Tuesday, 7 o'clock, we're going to have another doctor. I'm going to try and get some really big dudes and gals and really blow you away with information. I'm going to try and get everybody. Believe me, I'm going to call them all. It's a matter of when they're coming. So stay tuned, and hopefully you'll stay tuned to talkradio.nyc, and stay tuned to who's going to come next Tuesday at 7 o'clock. See you then. Have a great day.
You're listening to the Talking Alternative Network.